What is up? Welcome to the first NBA rundown of the 2022 season. I'm your host, Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks and AP. Of course, the show brought to you by RunPure Sports and RunPure Bets. AP, how are you today? I'm pretty excited to talk some hoops.
Yeah, doing really good. Exciting times. Over here we got NFL going on. We got MLB playoffs, NBA starting next week. Couldn't be more excited. Just absolutely plugged in and excited to do this breakdown with you guys.
Tyler, feeling like Bo Jackson here, switching sports, but hey, we're right in our wheelhouse. We crushed NBA last year, and I'm really optimistic for this year's chances. How you feeling about breaking down the Eastern Conference today?
Yeah, I'm good. Making the switch over from football to basketball today, but I think we're going to find our winners. This is our better sport, I believe. We got our guy AP on here to talk about NBA with us, so it feels like a Friday NBA rundown all over again.
I can't wait. And, of course, we will be having AP on Fridays this season. So check the RunPure calendar to find out all those times, and then we'll get locked in after football season goes. But, AP, one of the reasons that our times are going to be bouncing around is because we're producing so much content here at RunPure Sports. And Tyler and I thought, you know what? We're not doing a good job of letting everyone know how much we're really pumping out. We try and pump the NFL playbook. We're going to be adding an NBA playbook. But what else is going on for the RunPure Sports team and what all our great viewers can be checking out?
Yeah, that's going to be a really great addition over on the bet side, having an NBA betting playbook. I think it's one of the more innovative ideas and tools out there. Right now, the industry is just oversaturated with kind of people, posting little like videos and stuff of just plays. And who knows if they're like actually playing those plays. And so having a team of people actually giving out their plays that they're playing and opinions is just massive, and doing it in a playbook format. I absolutely love it. You guys are crushing that. Make sure you guys, if you're watching this, check the NFL playbook, betting playbook, because you guys have been on absolute fire. But yeah, NBA time. It's so fun. Tons of value over here. We start things off with like an NBA playbook that's going to give you a nice overview of the slate and how to tackle it from a DFS standpoint. We have core plays from all of our main NBA coordinators. One of the best things that we do, members only, is our Up to Lock show. Like, we give a lot of free video, free content out there, but the Up to Lock show is premium only. It is, we have a panel, Big T, JSU. I mean, the whole crew, Holden, I'll be on there. Everyone breaking it down and taking you up to lock. And why that's so important in NBA is injuries. We get late news all the time. You have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to adapt. We're talking through that in real time. So huge value add. That's where you're going to get the edge. Watching that show, and then everything else too comes with it. Projections, SaberSim, our partner, SaberSim Optimizer. The one thing about NBA from a DFS standpoint, projections are king. Having an optimizer is a huge advantage since it is such a projection-heavy sport. So excited to break down, do a preview with you guys today.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate the point. Hey, if you're playing NFL, I watch it, right? That morning show, the first show that comes on, that's got you good to go, because not a lot of stuff's happening from the time that you go off the air, AP, till the 10 a.m. or 1 p.m., wherever you're at, kickoff. The NBA, not so fast. Even on this show, we kind of struggled with, we break down a game, and then we get the news later that maybe a key piece that we had said, hey, this is the matchup we're really going to target. They get ruled out late. So not only does that change out from a betting perspective, but a lot of times it's way more heavy on the DFS side. The seventh man gets ruled out for the Phoenix Suns. I'm not really adjusting my point spread too much. In DFS, that can change the usage so much. So I love listening to that premium show and being a part of that. So, of course, we encourage everyone to head on over to runpuresports.com, become a member, and get in on the winning. We would go on about how much everybody's won, but we want to get this show done in a timely fashion. So, Tyler, let's jump in. The first team I wanted to talk about was the team that drafted first in the overall in the NBA draft this year. They pulled the pump fake, right? Everyone thought they were going to grab Jabari Smith. They grabbed Paolo Banchero, who was alive at 20-1 on the day of the draft. And he ends up being their top pick. Now they have two forwards to build around with Banchero and Wagner. The problem is guard play. Orlando last in the Eastern Conference to win the NBA title. They are 60-1. what is your thoughts here on this team?
Yeah, they might be dead last in odds spread, but I think there may be 2 or 3 teams ahead of that because I'd say Indiana's worse than them. And I'd say you may be able to put a team like Washington down there if they get banged up with injuries. I also think this Orlando team might surprise some people this season. The guards are just really young. Cole Anthony doesn't play much defense, but he can give you some points. Suggs has dealt with some injuries in his first 2 years, so he'll just get better. The forwards, Wagner, Bamba's still there. They have Wendell Carter, and now they add Paulo there, so they have the bigs. If they ever get Jonathan Isaac back, that just adds to their defense. Their win total I see is at 26.5. I think I like the over there at -115. I think they could definitely clear that number.
Here's my concern, Tyler, and usually I like these low win totals. And you said, when we said it, how many times are we going to talk about Victor Wembanyama on these previews? It's really tempting to think that these teams might shut down, that they really might shut down, and you could be on pace. And then the last 2 months, everybody's got elbow soreness or everybody's got a knee sprain. Are you concerned about that when you bet an over on a team that's not projected to be very good? Because I'll tell you what, I am. I think that's a big concern that these teams might start shutting people down.
So, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some concern there, but I don't think there's as much concern with this Orlando team because I think they're a little bit better. They got their guy. They got the best player in the draft in my eyes in Paulo last year, and I think he's going to improve that team a lot. So I don't think they're going to be one of those teams trying to shut guys down.
All right, AP, what are your thoughts on the Magic overall? And one thing I think we have to talk about, Cade Cunningham was really a reliable option as a number 1 pick last year in DFS. I know that early in the season, we were getting great returns on him. Then everybody kind of caught on and the price was right. But do you think we'll see the same thing from Paulo? And what are your expectations for the Magic overall?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it from a DFS standpoint is going to come down to price, rotations. Obviously, it's not good that Jalen Suggs is hurt. I think he's going to be hurt. I'm showing like 19 games, so he'll be back sometime late November. That's definitely a hit to them. Markelle Fultz was their highest usage guy last season, and if you remember, I mean, he didn't really play many minutes. I think he was capped right around 20. A guy that's just constantly battled injuries. And then Gary Harris hurt. Obviously, not like a huge factor. I don't know. Like the Magic are just like I don't like. I'm not willing to bet early on their young rookie. It's kind of like a wait and see. This is a team I am definitely lower on just because it's kind of the easy side to be. Like Magic haven't been good for a long time. So and it would make sense for them to tank for what's his name?
Wembanyama. And even if they miss out on number 1, Scoot Henderson might even fit even better on that team.
He fits 100% better on that team.
Yeah, I mean, this team needs guards. And the thing is, we're talking about the top 2, and I'm not a draft expert, but things I'm reading, this draft is really deep, even if you end up at the 5 or the 6 spot. So that's where my concerns for tanking are coming in.
One thing to keep an eye on, and price does factor in so much when it comes to DFS, but Cole Anthony in a position battle right now kind of has to prove himself, I think, when you just look at the backcourt depth not really depth, but options that the Magic have. So with Jalen Suggs likely out early, I would look at him if his price is reasonable early on. We saw him have multiple blow-up games last season that, was really, GPP or tournament viable. So that's where I'll be looking, but I'm not. And then Wendell Carter also, if he can sustain, a nice 33 to 35 minute per game role, I think he would be a fine option as well. He should dominate the front court there. So outside of that, I'm not super excited about the Magic, but we'll see.
No love for Chuma Akiki?
Probably not. he can't shoot, man. He's not a good shooter. So he's like, he hustles and he's like sprinting up and down the court and he can defend a little bit, but comes down to shooting, and I'm just not seeing it with him.
All right, this NBA rundown of the Eastern Conference brought to you by RunPureSports.com. Guys, if you're watching and enjoying the content, please give us a thumbs up. My guess is you're already subscribed, but if you're not, alleviate that mistake right now. Hit the bell, become a member, get notified every time we go live because, as I mentioned at the top, the NBA Rundown will have a staggered schedule until the NFL ends. So you want to know when we go live. You want to get these bets in early. Tyler, a lot of times the lines change. within an hour or two of us going off the air, right? So you want to watch the show live and be a part of it. And we thank everybody for joining us. Let's move on. The Indiana Pacers also at the same number, plus 60,000. Tyler, and you thought the Magic are going to be better. I think the Pacers are an interesting spot on their rebuild. The big question around this team roster-wise, of course, is what do they do with Miles Turner? He's been on the trade block seemingly forever. So they still haven't found a spot for him. He seems like he would fit in a contender really well. I mean, he's like the new style center. He blocks shots and he shoots threes. Seems like he'd do well. I do like the backcourt there. Duarte, Halliburton. I mean, these things can get interesting here with this team. I worry about the depth, and I also worry about the coach. You remember a couple years ago when Rick Carlisle was considered to be one of the best coaches in the NBA. He leaves Dallas. They improve. He goes to Indiana. Doesn't really seem to make a mark there. You seem to be down on the Pacers. Let us know why.
Yeah, I mean, the guards are good, but just like you said, Turner's on the trade block. This LA and Indiana trade has been talked about for months now, sending Miles Turner and Buddy Hield to LA and then returning just picks back to there. If they do that spread, their front court's going to be really weak. It basically lines up as here's the open spot in the front court for Victor Wembanyama.
Okay, can I jump in, though? I don't think this trade happens. If you're a GM, why are you trading for a draft pick in 2027? Because you're not going to have a job if you don't get things done now. So I mean, that's just my.
But just like we just said, teams are going to shut down guys. Teams are going to look to draft these two kids at the top of the draft. What quicker way to get there than to clear your front court and take a shooter off your team?
All right, that's a good point.
Indiana does that, and then you look at their win total. It's set 3 games lower than the Magic spread. It's at 23.5. So they're already penciling this team in to be one of the tankers this year. So I'm not playing their win total. I'm going to stay away from that because it's such a low number. But I think they are one of the bottom 2 teams in the Eastern Conference this year. And I do think that trade ends up going through because I think LA comes into the season, plays a few games, realizes they're a little closer than they thought they would be, and they pull that trigger and get that trade done.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I know Indiana's holding out for more. Doesn't seem like it. And then if we start to do the trade machine in our head, like what team really, really needs him that's on the verge of contention? Probably a reason he hasn't got dealt yet. AP, what do you think about the Pacers?
Yeah, I mean, I am in line with, I think, where the consensus is at in the industry, just under on this team, obviously rebuilding the questions around Miles Turner, motivation too, like, he has to know he's going to go somewhere. I mean, you'd think. I'm really interested from a DFS standpoint. If those scenarios pan out, I'll be looking at like guys like Jalen Smith, guys like Isaiah Jackson. Actually, so like one thing I like to do is just look at who was the usage leader on these teams last season. I'm not taking like anyone off the court or putting anyone on. It's just who's the usage leader. Isaiah Jackson was 23%. And then when he was on the court, averaged 1.2 fantasy points per minute. Then you have Halliburton. So I think like some of these guys could keep them competitive in games, but they just don't have enough. Like I see them like get into that third quarter. Maybe they're within 15 and then they just get stomped on in a lot of games. So, but they do have young pieces here. Then you also got Buddy Hield. So it'll be interesting to see like guys like Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith, see how these younger guys kind of do, in this environment. So not a team I'm obviously high on, but, they did play with pace last year. They were ranked 11th, and their defense was terrible. So this is going to be a team that we can definitely pick on in DFS formats. All
right, let's do a quick poll of the viewers. If you think the Pacers will suck, hit the thumbs up. Tyler, we didn't mention their draft pick, Benedict Matheran. What do you think of him? I was actually pretty high on him, and he's a great athlete. I just don't know if he translates right away. Do you see more of a project, or do you think he comes in and makes an instant impact?
I think he can make an instant impact, but I think it's going to be more of he's just going to get a ton of minutes on a bad team. And we talked about their guards and everything else, but we never spoke about a single wing on this team spread because there aren't any. Yeah, they drafted this kid to be one of the wings, so he's going to get the minutes. The stats should be there unless he's just absolutely terrible. So I wouldn't even hate sprinkling him to win Rookie of the Year. Let's see what we can get that number at.
Wow,
12-1 because Paulo's 2-1. He's kind of right up there to win it. Keegan Murray, your guy's 4.5-1. Jabari Smith 6-1. Jaden Ivey 7-1. Then Benedict Matheran 12-1. So he's up there. The minutes will be there. It's just can he produce? So I just keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, you had a great point with his usage. Let's check real quick with the chat. Our guy, Matty Ice, what's up, my man? Terrence says, hey, Miles Turner standing at the three-point line with AD doesn't sound right. And DJ wants to know, I know it's the East show, how good do you guys think the Rockets will be? DJ, you're going to have to turn in tomorrow to find out when we do the Western Conference. Let's continue, though, with the East. Half as much, but still not that good. Plus 30,000 here for the Detroit Pistons to win the NBA championship. Tyler, this is another team. I like the Magic. I like what they're building. I think they're closer than Indiana to being a good team. Love the way that they got the center, the real athletic center. Is that Jalen Duren? Pronouncing it right? Okay. And then Jaden Ivey. They're doing things right in Detroit as doing a rebuild. As a Sacramento Kings fan, it's disappointing to see the other teams figure out how to do it right. Cade Cunningham should be better in his second year. Do you think Cade will be more efficient? Will these Pistons get some wins? They also added Bojan Bogdanovic as well. A little bit of shooting there. This Pistons team doesn't seem bad. I don't think they're going to win a lot of games. I think they're going to cover a lot of spreads. I could see them being popular on the daily rundowns, right, when they're getting plus 10, plus 8. We love them catching points at home last year. Do you think that'll be the same?
I think they're going to catch points early in the year, but I think those points are going to slowly start to dwindle down spread because I think this team is going to be the one that surprises in the Eastern Conference. I mean, you look at there's a bet on DraftKings to participate in the play-in games. Well, I think the 7 teams that made the playoffs last year punched their tickets, and Cleveland fills that 8 spot, making the Donovan Mitchell trade. Well, now that just leaves the couple play-in spots. I think Charlotte's a bottom 3 team with Indiana and Orlando we just talked about, and I think Washington's not far from them. I think Detroit's the best out of this bunch, 6-1 to make that play-in tournament. They don't have to make the playoffs. They could be the 10 seed and lose that first matchup, and you cash that 6-1 ticket. So I like that. And Cade Cunningham was one of the few rookies that started the year slow, and as he picked up the game more, he got even better as the season went on. What do you think he's going to do this year? I see he's at the top of these lists for most improved player. So they're expecting big things out of this kid. I think they could definitely be in the top 10 seeds in the East and play in that play-in tournament.
If you're the Pistons, you have to be happy about building around Cade Cunningham. What a great player he is. AP, what are your thoughts on this Pistons team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to disagree. I do like Cade. I think so. Like I was listening to things. I know Cade's been putting in a lot of time, building size. Getting to be more physical, and that's what you need to do if you want to increase your efficiency, get in the paint, get easy buckets. And, the upside is really nice for him. Just if you look at kind of from a usage and fantasy point standpoint, 28% last year, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. No Jeremy Grant this year. Obviously a key guy that has left. Kelly Olynyk as well. He's gone. So the opportunity is going to be there for Cade. He's going to be a guy that we have to consider night in and night out if the price is right. And then, the backcourt, like Marvin Bagley, he's a guy with a lot of upside, but man, he struggles defensively spread, as you know. Like we've talked about this guy for a long time, when obviously they're with the Kings, but one of my concern is kind of depth, and then, their coach and Dwayne Casey, he's a guy that loves to play a lot of players. If he does that with his team, if he doesn't push these main starters, I just don't see them getting the wins to get in the playoffs. So I'm definitely willing to bet that they miss again. I got them on the outside looking in with the Wizards actually above them. So I'm not the Wizards, it's more of they look like a team, and we're going to get to them, but a team that's just trying to do everything they can just to get into the play-in game. So, but from a Pistons standpoint, from a DFS standpoint, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Cade, if the price is right, obviously, he's going to be a guy we should all be interested in.
AP, you brought up the Wizards. They are plus 15,000 to win the NBA championship, and they're like the Kings. They're kind of stuck in mediocre purgatory, and they refuse to tear it all down and rebuild. So the Washington fans and the Sacramento fans, it's like the Rocky meme, right, where they're hand in hand, refusing to rebuild and just pushing away. And I'll tell you what, Tyler and I talked about this team yesterday, and we are not excited. Yes, Bradley Beal's good, but he's not enough to get it done on your own. Porzingis, you can probably pencil in for 50 games. They'll probably miss at least 30. And other than that, they haven't done much. They've drafted a bunch of forwards. All of them are okay role players. None of them have really stood out. And I'm talking about, of course, Denny Avaja. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Rui Hachimura. And, of course, you have Kyle Kuzma, who stepped up in Washington. Is that an effective usage? They traded KCP for Will Barton. I don't know if I necessarily like that move. I think I'd rather have KCP. But you're higher on the Wizards than the Pistons. Tell us why, AP.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So higher all things relative to, the Pacers, Pistons, Magic, Hornets. That's kind of the bottom tier group. And I have one other kind of take that might not make people happy, kind of a surprise team that I think is going to miss the playoffs this year. But the Wizards, from a DFS standpoint, we should all be licking our chops. This team has offense, has no defense. They're going to play with pace. Even though they didn't last year, when you have Will Barton, he's always going to push the pace. When you have Brad Beal, he's going to always want to take shots. Same with Kyle Kuzma. And then Porzingis. You have all offensive players here, zero defense. So that is something that we should be very interested in from a DFS standpoint. And we're going to want to attack this team. We're going to be able to attack them in the paint. They have no front court depth at all. Daniel Gafford just can't stay on the court. Obviously, a really elite shot blocker. But, what's his minute cap? Like 25 minutes a game, it seems like. So this is going to be a team that we can attack with bigs. I think the pace is going to be something like I'm going to be looking at overs early and often with teams with the teams playing the Wizards here. So, and it's going to be a team that I'm looking at attacking DFS wise.
And it's so funny from a betting perspective and just a fan's perspective. This team to me is so boring, but I can imagine you guys on the free show and, of course, on the premium show targeting this team's games for the reason that you mentioned. So it's funny how sometimes these things are like right in lockstep and sometimes they're the exact opposite.
Like spread, like what you want. You want a team that plays with pace, that has decent offensive efficiency, that can stay in games, but that doesn't play defense. And that's what I see here. Like Brad Beal, dude's talented. He should help to keep you in games. Same with Will Barton, Kyle Kuzma, and Porzingis. So I think they get I think they just make the play-in game, kind of betting on some of the names here.
Yeah, that seems I could definitely see that. Tyler, let's go ahead and talk about this Wizards team. Seems like the only spell they can cast is the perpetually mediocre spell on this team. And I feel bad for fans of this franchise because they deserve better. They should have done the rebuild. They're not going to do the rebuild. Now they're anchored to Bradley Beal. What are your expectations for this team, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, everything AP said's dead on if this team stays healthy. And I would push all my chips into the middle of the table spread that this team could not stay healthy.
That's a good point.
Porzingis will go down at some point, and so will Gafford. Who's the big man at that point? They have nobody, so they get killed in the middle. Kuzma's going to be trying to do everything on his own. Bradley Beal's known for also getting injured. And they've shut him down in these kind of spots too, spread, where it just seems like he's just carrying the entire team. Why kill him? They're like, you know what? 30 games left. You're done for the season, and we're just going to tank out. So that's my worry here with them, is I could definitely see them being one of the tankers if a few guys go down. And I definitely think these guys go down for them during the year. They probably have a couple of the most fragile bodies in the entire NBA on one roster.
I need to see who they're playing early. I want to pound some overs bets here because I think they'll be. I mean, obviously Vegas will adjust, but it just seems like such a good over team to target for.
I love the overcall, and when they played just like a couple years ago and they were playing Indiana and they were getting them high totals, I think those are still over games to play for sure.
Yeah. Tyler, you follow college more than we do. Johnny Davis, I thought was a great pick, but they all seem like great picks during the draft, right? Because we only see their highlights. Really mediocre in summer league and in preseason. Do you think he's going to be able to make an impact at all? Go ahead, Davey.
Oh no, go ahead. Answer that question first. I got something funny.
I mean, he's like a defensive guard spread. He's more of he's going to guard guys. He's not really all that big for the NBA either, though. And he played at Wisconsin, and we haven't seen Wisconsin players translate to the NBA very well. So that's just something to keep an eye on. But he might just be a defensive guard that plays next to Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal does all the scoring.
All right. Well, what do you got for us, AP?
So they play on Wednesday, the 19th. That's their first game. They play the Pacers. The over-under right now is 226.5.
Do you remember unders hit for the first month?
I love the over there.
That game.
Do you remember unders were 80% for the month last year.
Don't you think though, like, don't you think they've adjusted though to that? Like, I think a lot of that had to do with some of these new calls and everything.
The other thing I want to throw out with that too is this is the first time in 3 to 4 years that these guys have gotten a full off season to actually go home, rehab, and then get back into training camp. You figure ever since COVID, these guys have been running quick schedules back to back. So they come into the season rusty because they go home and just want to rest. Now they get the full off season. They're back in camp. I don't think we see that slow start this year.
I know it was the longest I didn't study NBA, right, this year because it was just so jam-packed like you were talking about. So it's great to be back about it, talking with you guys. And, of course, if you guys are enjoying the show, give us the thumbs up. Brought to you by RunPureSports.com.
So if they lose to – so they got Indiana and Chicago out of the gate, and then I think they get 2 wins, and then I think they lose to Cleveland. And then they got Detroit and then Indiana again. So – it'll be like a hot start, and then they'll end up just sucking.
Did they do that last year, too? Did they start like they did.
Yeah. Taj Gibson's going to be their starting center a month in.
I would not be surprised at all if that was the scenario.
Go? I thought he was like the best man at Tibbs' wedding. I can't believe he's not on the Knicks anymore. Unbelievable. Let's talk about the Charlotte Hornets, who are plus 8,000 to win the NBA championship here. LaMelo Ball dealing with the sprained ankle right now, so they won't be at full strength to start the season. They picked up Williams with the 15th pick to finally give them a shot blocker. We were saying they were linked in every trade to a shot blocker, but they went ahead and addressed that in the draft. This is a fun team from a DFS perspective, AP, right? Because it's the same thing as the Wizards, right? They get up, they run, they score, and defense is kind of optional. And Mark Dejounte doesn't seem to be necessarily enforcing that. We've seen lots of lazy plays and these guys not get pulled. You didn't like them at all. You really you put them lower than the books did, right? You had them in the Magic and the Pacers range. Why do you think they're so higher on Charlotte than you are?
I mean, no Miles Bridges, right? Like I don't. Do you guys remember what happened there? I mean, did they kick him off? Like kick him off? Basically,
he's not going to play.
Okay, yeah. So
right now.
Obviously, a huge loss, losing Miles Bridges. And then, so it's a tale of two teams. When LaMelo Ball is running the offense, they play with incredible pace. They ranked 5th last year. So if he's healthy, they're going to run and gun. If it's Terry Rozier kind of manning things, their pace does slow down a little bit. Gordon Hayward hasn't worked out in a long time. Like PJ Washington is kind of a guy that could break out. I like his skill set, but then you got Mason Plumlee. Kelly Oubre needs to like take a step up if they want to do anything. I think we've seen Kelly Oubre be good offensively. We know he can be good defensively. He's a streaky player, does get into foul trouble at times. I don't know. I just see this being like an average team, a team that we can attack. A team that'll be good attacking fantasy-wise, assuming that LaMelo Ball's in there. Like, look at the front court. PJ Washington, Mason Plumlee, and then, who's going to be their backup? I mean, man, is Mason Plumlee going to be playing like 35 minutes a game? Like, who are they going to put in there? They got no one. It'll be interesting.
Tyler, if you tell me your team's relying on Kelly Oubre to step up, I'm saying it's a tough season. What do you think about the Hornets?
Yeah, I mean, this roster, if it wasn't for Chet going down for OKC spread, they're 40-1 to have the worst record in the NBA. I think this team absolutely sucks. Like, LaMelo Ball doesn't play any defense. Like, it's going to look like AAU ball. Rozier doesn't play much either. They have no front court, but they're going to fight in these games. I just don't think they're going to win many of them. Their win total is 35.5. They won 43 games last year. So that shows you what the books think of them. I'm going to lean towards the under there, but with the number being so low, I probably just stay away. If I can find a specific bet where it's like them to have the worst record in the Eastern Conference and leaving out the OKCs, the Utahs, and the San Antonios, I'll gladly sprinkle on that because you'll probably get around 20-1 on that.
What do you think of their draft pick, number 15, Williams? He's supposed to be a really good shot blocker, great statistic shot blocker. You don't think he makes a difference for the team, or you're just worried about the front court?
I'm more worried about the front court because, you're a good shot blocker, but we all know what they're going to do to you in the NBA. They're going to pull you away from the hoop. Mm-hmm. And he's not a very good perimeter defender. And the moment they realize that and they throw him in these pick and rolls, back to the bench you go, buddy.
I mean, one other comment too with these bigs, it takes time like to really develop in the NBA. Like, look at Wiseman; it's taking him a couple of years. So, like, it doesn't matter if these bigs are good. It's just going to take them time to really develop and learn. So, I saw that they got my boy Bryce McGowens. He played for Nebraska. He was basically carried that team last year. So the kid has skills, but he'll be a G League player for sure.
All right, Tyler, let's talk about your favorite team. The New York Knicks are plus 5,500 to win the Eastern Conference. What are your thoughts on the Knicks? They added Jalen Brunson. I don't know. Does this really matter? I mean, like, what are they doing in New York?
Yeah, I really don't know what they're doing. I also don't think he's that good of a fit. Like, he played good in Dallas, but that was also with 4 shooters standing around him. Now you got a ball stopper in Julius Randle next to him. When he passes it around, the ball is just going to stop. He's going to want to ISO it up and post them up. And Tibbs doesn't like to play these young guys, and there's a ton of young guys on this team that need to play between Grimes, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickley. Like, Derrick Rose, if you get him healthy like he says he is, he can give you 20 to 30 good games and help you out in that point guard depth there. But, I mean, this team, I don't like it. Maybe they sneak into the playing game. Like, a good question I heard, Spread, is with their roster the way they're set up now, are they closer to the team they were 2 years ago when everything went right for them and they got the 4 seed? Or are they closer to the team they were last year when everything went right?
Last year.
I think they're somewhere in the middle.
It was an aberration 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be that good, but I'd say right in the middle, they're in the play-in, maybe miss out on the playoffs, but like a 9-10 seed for sure.
That year they made the playoffs and they were the 4 seed. Didn't they have like the worst percentage against on wide open threes?
Yeah,
I mean, there was some luck involved in that. And then, of course, the Thibodeau bump. But I'm wondering how much these guys are starting to tune out. I'm not high on the Knicks at all. I think Jalen.
They also say he's probably on his way out. So you could see some weird rotations from him.
Yeah.
Who's on his way out?
Tibbs,
yeah.
But that won't be in season, will it?
I mean, depending on how bad this goes, they might just boot him.
Interesting. What do you think of this team, AP?
Yeah, I mean, I might have to redo my who makes the like. I have them as a team that could make the play-in, but how much? Like, I don't think that's saying that much because of how bad some of these other teams are. So maybe I should go back and rethink the Pistons, but you do have to factor in the tanking aspect if that is an option down the road. And I think this Knicks team with a guy like Brunson, just coming in with a winning mentality. RJ Barrett took a nice, step forward last year. Julius Randle took a step back. I don't know. I think this team is going to play hard. I think they're going to have a nice rotation for DFS purposes, but I have them just making the playing game, like that 10 spot, 9 or 10 spot. Right there. I mean, their win total 38.5. I don't know. I think they'll be competitive due to some of the talent that they have. I think Brunson's a guy. He showed it with the Mavs. Like, he can, carry a team. But, Tyler, you are right. That is, he had shooters all around him. Not going to be the case here. So it is awkward. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know. I'm torn. I'm not I don't think they're going to be a fun team to watch again. Last year, they were, man, I wanted to burn my eyes out watching this team. They were just really boring, really slow, nothing exciting about them. And it, it looks to be the same this year as well.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying about Tibbs as well, Tyler. We didn't bring up Cam Reddish, but they gave up a first rounder for him.
Yeah, they just wouldn't play him.
Yeah.
Does
he play more this year?
No, I don't think so. I think he ends up traded at some point. But one fun bet on this team I think you could take if you do think RJ Barrett takes that next step and maybe gets himself to an all-star level player here. He's 24-1 to win most improved player. We seen John Morant win it last year after we knew he was already pretty good, and then he just punched his ticket to the all-star game, and I won him that award. So at 24-1, I'd keep an eye on that.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, let's go for those long shots. That could be a lot of fun.
We'll talk about the winner of that award tomorrow, though, because I think he's got it bagged up if he plays the whole season.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with that. But let's talk about the Chicago Bulls, who are plus 3,500 to win the Eastern Conference. Tyler, without Lonzo, I really thought Lonzo meant so much to that team in the early run last year. He's out. We don't know when he's going to be back. And hate to keep doing comparisons to my Kings, but you have a center that can't defend the rim. Just seems like your upside is not that high as far as a playoff team. Now, as far as a regular season team, I think this team can get some wins. And I like DeMar DeRozan's ability to hit those clutch mid-range jumpers at the end of games and to help them secure leads. Almost like running the ball, the mid-range jumper. It's been moved away from, but it still matters situationally. And that's where DeRozan really helps. What are your thoughts on the Chicago Bulls? They obviously set the world on fire for the Eastern Conference last year. They were a surprise team, and then they kind of returned to our expectations that we had for them when we did these previews last year. Do we have high expectations for the Bulls? What do you think for this team, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm in the dumps on this team spread. They might be lower than the Knicks for me. I mean, I'm not high on Billy Donovan as a coach. You talked about their center not being able to guard. They lose their best perimeter defending guard, Lonzo, who might just be out for this entire season. When they lost Caruso on top of Lonzo last year, you watched their defense die. So now you're relying on one guy. Ayo Dosunmu's a decent defender, but does he take the next step forward? So this is going to be an all-offense team that's trying to run it through DeMar DeRozan and Zach Levine. And DeRozan hit a lot of game winners last year spread that helped teeter this win total up over. At 41.5, I'm going to lean towards those game winners don't happen this year and they don't get put in them spots. Unders plus 105 on that 41.5. I don't think his team breaks 40 wins. I don't think they miss out on the playoffs also. Like, there's just no defense here. Lonzo's not going to be there to help them, and Zach Levine can only put up 30 so many times.
Wow, he's down on the Bulls. What do you think, AP?
Yeah, we are finally locked arm in arm. I'm very down on the Bulls. Lonzo's such a big hit, and it doesn't look promising when you go out and, they got Dragic, they got Kobe White, Caruso, Ayo. Like, so they have some backcourt depth there. It just doesn't make me feel too confident about, how they feel about Lonzo Ball. And that's a huge hit to them. Like the stuff that he does from just pushing the pace, pushing the ball down the court from a distributing factor, setting his guys up is just so huge. And then his defense is definitely underrated. All of that's going to be, missed. Yeah, you can make the argument Alex Caruso, a good defender also, but not the same type of player as Alonzo Ball when you're talking both ways. So, and then these guys are just getting older. Vucevic, yeah, he can hit some shots and do some stuff, but he just hasn't been the guy. And DeMar DeRozan, I'm locked on. I agree with you 100%, Tyler. Zach Levine, I love watching him play. I think he's a fun dude to watch, but they're going to have to play 38 plus minutes again. If they want to churn out some wins, and we saw how that impacted them down the stretch. So the other problem too, from a DFS side, just too many, cooks in the kitchen, too much usage to go around here. It's going to be the same situation that we saw last year. Is it Levine? Is it DeRozan? Is it Vucevic? So it's going to be a very difficult team to target from a DFS standpoint. And it's not like they played with a lot of pace, without Lonzo in there, like I alluded to, 16th in pace, and they struggled defensively, 23rd in defensive efficiency last season. So I have them missing. So I have them, I know their win total is 41.5, I believe. I have them missing the playoffs this year. I think it's going to be a tough year for the Bulls.
All right. Loving getting some takes here out of the box. Tyler, 2 years ago, the Atlanta Hawks were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now the books have them scheduled to finish 8th. They're plus 2,200 to win the Eastern Conference. Of course, they made one of the biggest offseason splashes by acquiring DeJounte Murray. Try to give them a little depth there. They sent Herter out to sack. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Interesting spot there. And you talked about the big man development with Charlotte. And I think this guy that I really like on Atlanta is a good example of that, AP, though. Anekwe Okongwu, if I'm pronouncing that right, is a great player, but it's just going to take a little while to get there. Capella, I don't want to say that he's washed, but he did struggle with injuries last year. And the guy that he was last year is not enough. He's fully healthy and playing the way he was 2 years ago. This team couldn't make a mark. Other interesting issues with this team, where does John Collins really fit in on their best lineups? Because it seems like he's the best at the 5 offensively, but at the 4 defensively. Could be an issue there for the team. But with the addition of DeJounte Murray, this team definitely got better in the offseason. They're definitely saying, hey, Trey, we believe in you. We're going to make a run right now, as they gave up a lot to get him. He's like, what, a 25-year-old all-star? Played great, and we loved him in DFS last year. What are your thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks and their big new addition, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, that backcourt's going to be a hell of a thing to guard every night in and night out. And DeJounte Murray's just going to get to run around and try and pick pockets on guys all game. Another trade they made that's going to fly under the radar spread, it was with your team, the Kings. They traded Kevin Huerter, who's more of an offensive-minded basketball player, for Justin Holiday, who's going to lock a guy down on defense. That's a guy you can plop in right at that 3 spot in the starting lineup if they had to, next to those 2 guards. Move DeAndre Hunter to the 4, run one of the centers out there, and you have the defense out there plus your offense with the guards. So definitely like this Atlanta team this year. Their win total sits right at 45.5. I think they could go over that. I think they can get close to 50 wins. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs, might even be a top 4 seed in this East. So I'd definitely watch out for this team.
All right, what do you think of the Hawks there, AP?
Yeah, I agree with Tyler here. I mean, top 4 seed. I don't know about that, but this team. So this was a team we could attack DFS wise last year. They ranked 26 in defensive efficiency, just not good. Not going to be the case this year. So if you're out there playing DFS and you're looking to target this team, I would caution you on doing that. I mean, bringing in DeJounte Murray, Justin Holiday, like Tyler talked about. You got DeAndre Hunter. Outside of Trey Young, you got a lot of length, a lot of good guys that can play defense. This is going to be a tough team to target, tough team to attack. I like the Okongwu call. I think we're going to see more of him. Really good defender, too. Can get it done in the paint. I have them in making the play-in spot. So definitely I have them getting into the play-in tournament and then, making it, being one of those top 8 seeds. So that's where I have the Hawks right now. Because, all right, bringing DeJounte Murray, huge thing. It just takes time for some of these things to really pan out. And we have a lot of teams that we're going to talk about coming up where the chemistry is already there. So I give those teams kind of the edge over this team. I like the upside, though, long term. I like what Atlanta's doing.
Nate McMillan's still the coach? They didn't switch that, did they?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't think they fired their coach.
Do we trust him to integrate him that well? He never was really good with the Pacers. Then he did that one little run with Atlanta, almost like Thibodeau, though, right? A 1-year bump, and then everything's kind of back to normal.
Don't you guys think this is going to allow Trey Young to work off ball a little bit? Something that I don't think we saw a lot of. So I think it's going to bring in some unique dynamics to this team. Help some of these guys, create some shots.
Yeah.
And DeJounte Murray, I mean, man, he's he comes from the Spurs system, good team ball player. Obviously, anyone's going to be pretty fundamentally sound, playing with Pop. So I think they will integrate and mesh. I just think it's going to take some time.
I don't think it'll take as much time as you guys were thinking because these 2 guards and John Collins spent all summer in these pro-ams and these crossover games that they ran and these pickup games. All 3 of them were on the same team almost every time, trying to build that chemistry before the season started. Mind you, got to get everybody else involved. So you have 3 of your main players already the chemistry built. Everyone else just falls in line behind that.
I do like – so once they get Bojan back also, man, you can go defense or offense. If you need defense, if you need someone to, help lock up some backcourt player, you got Justin Holiday. If you want offense, you can go Bojan. So I think the team is set up good, definitely making the playoffs.
Yeah, I just wonder if Nate McMillan's the guy to really unlock that versatility. I haven't been that high on him. Like I said,
if AJ Griffin's knee doesn't bother him too, that's just another guy they can throw.
You love that guy.
He's got a 7-foot wingspan at 6'6", spread. That's great for this. You can put him out there with a defensive lineup. He could shoot threes. And if his knee's fine, he's going to lock up one of their best players on the perimeter. So that just adds a body into their rotation if he doesn't deal with that knee problem.
All right. Shout out to our guy, Kurt, in the tanning bed, getting ready for some NBA winners. Toronto Raptors. Interesting spot here where this team seems like it's locked in for the playoffs, but it has no championship hopes unless they make a move. Maybe that's sitting there. On the horizon, of course, they nailed that draft pick with Scotty Barnes. This team, they just run a bunch of 6'8", 6'9" guys out there. Maybe it's the future of basketball, Gary Trent and Fred VanVleet in the backcourt. Still, it's really tough for me to get behind this team having playoff success. But as a regular season team, I absolutely love this team, Tyler. They have the great home court edge. I think we're going to be betting on them a lot when they're at home. And we'll see how they do on the road. They've traditionally been a pretty good road team. So this is a team that I'm looking at to back during the regular season and fade in the postseason. What are your thoughts on the Raptors, Tyler?
Yeah, can we get the Spider-Man meme up where they're pointing at each other and get the Raptors and the Baltimore Ravens? Because that's what they're going to be. They're going to be regular season bullies. They're going to beat up on teams in the regular season when they're fully healthy. I mean, that lineup with Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, Barnes, Siakam, and if they run Boucher at the 5, they're just going to beat these teams up. But once the playoffs,
you're leaving Anunoby out.
Well, they could plug him in there too. But if they want to go bigger,
Boucher's beating up no one at the 5 though. That dude, he weighs like 150 pounds.
Stretches the floor though.
Yeah.
But I mean, this team's going to be a regular season bully. 45.5 is their win total. It's juiced to -150 to the over. Wow. So you can't do much with that. But they could easily win their division. I will say that. And you're getting a nice price on that.
So, yeah, I think they're going to do great in the regular season. What do you think, AP?
Yeah, I have them like as a play-in team. So the one thing we like about the Raptors, we know we're going to get tight rotations. We know Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, OG, Barnes, Siakam. We know they're all going to play 35-plus minutes. It's just what they do. If we get low price tags on some of these guys, they're going to be ones that we can target in DFS early on before pricing starts to adjust. So that's what I'm going to be looking at from a DFS side. You got talent, you got now guys that have played with each other and stuff. So I think I'm locked arm in arm with you guys. Like I think they're going to be good, but they're definitely not going to be great. I have them falling in that like 7th, 8th place, finish, getting in through the playing game.
I think they could be even higher. They actually might be a candidate to lose a first-round series.
Yeah, at home, AP's got them a little lower than me, but looking at their division, the Celtics are plus 135. They have all the problems in the world right now. They also overachieved, I'll say, in the regular season last year. So they might regress a little bit. Brooklyn's at plus 185. We don't know how much them two main guys are going to play. You could see KD for 40 games. Who knows if Kyrie goes on a hiatus. Philly's 3-1. You know the problems we have with Embiid. If he goes down, that team kind of falls apart. And there's the Raptors.
I'm so high on Philly this year.
If they stay healthy, they're going to be a tank. But I don't trust them. And then Toronto's sitting there at 13-1. You're telling me they can't walk into like the 1 or 2 seed while these other teams just kind of go, we'll get healthy for the playoffs and wait this out. I could easily see that 13-1 being up there in the end.
I think that's spot on, Tyler, because I think with Philly, you are going to see a team that's not really going to care about where they're seated. I think they're going to care about getting those guys some rest, and I think they're really going to be judicial with the amount of minutes they give their superstars in Philly. So I think 2 different approaches for these teams. Philly's probably playoff-oriented. Toronto maybe a little more regular season-oriented. Now we get into the meat of the Eastern Conference. These are the top 6 by NBA odds. The Cleveland Cavaliers are plus 1,500 to win the East. DeJounte Murray was the splash. Donovan Mitchell was the splash as well. Tyler, I feel like they gave up too much, but that's neither here or there because we're breaking down this season. And Donovan Mitchell joins this team to kind of play the role that Colin Sexton did. The interesting thing I want to see with Donovan Mitchell is how much was his defensive ineptitude simply attitude last year? Because he's shown the ability to do it in college and his rookie year to really be a good defender. Did he just want out of Utah? Did he just not care? Because if he becomes that guy that we saw when he first came into the league, that's huge for this team. The other issue around this team, Tyler, we've talked about it with a couple others, like the Hornets, no forwards. Like you got a great 4, right? You got your back court, you got your front court, and then you got Isaac Okoro. Oh, I don't know how you do this now. And Lauri Markkanen, maybe run the 3 again. I don't know how that works. Tyler, talk to me about the Cavaliers. I know people are high on this team. I know that we loved them last year, but now that they're not catching people by surprise anymore, people are going to get up for them. How do you think that affects them, and what is your outlook for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I still think this team's going to roll the regular season. I mean, not having the wings, I don't think is going to matter as much when the couple you got just play defense. And you got two twin towers standing behind you in the paint. So Mitchell's defensive presence, I mean, he could still play the same defense he played last year spread and just let the guys go to the hoop. Jared Allen and Mobley will be waiting for him there. So that's going to cover him a bit. Garland's going to be able to play more of the floor general role now. I don't think they gave up as much as you think they did for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, it was only
they gave up 5 years of draft picks.
Well, the draft picks, but player-wise, coming into this year.
No, I'm talking about the draft picks. Player-wise, they didn't give up anything.
Sexton I was saying player-wise, they gave up nothing.
Right.
They bring back Ricky Rubio off that trade. That gives them a backup point guard to run that second unit. There's a thing on DraftKings that lets you bet these teams' exact seeds. I mean, they're 12-1 to be the 1 seed, 9.5 to 1 to be the 2 seed, 7 to 1 to be the 3 seed. We just talked about some of these other teams at the top. They get hurt. They're going to slowly just wait this out until the playoffs because they know what they are. They know they could flip that switch. Cleveland's going to try and run this score up on a lot of teams and get a very good record. I'm going to bet them 1, 2, or 3 at those prices.
Really? You're that high on this team?
Yes.
Okay. You think JB Bickerstaff?
They also should have made the playoffs last year spread. A couple of injuries kept them out. You know, that left a bad taste in their mouth. They want to prove themselves this year.
Yeah, I mean, Darius Garland stepped up. Robert, our guy, talks about Garland, and this is for DFS and fantasy, of course, with Mitchell sharing that workload. What's your approach to how this Cavaliers team is going to be, AP, and how much do you think that Garland is less attractive now that he's sharing that backcourt with Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, I'm with Tyler. I'm high on this team. I mean, they rank 6th in defensive efficiency. I mean, man, how impressive was Evan Mobley last season? Just from a defensive side, his ability to switch. There also with Jared Allen, just the Twin Towers too. Just like, man, so much size down there, so much length and good mobility. So you got to like what they're doing in the front court. Now their back court gets so much better. 2 guys that can carry offensively in Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. And I think it's going to be like a you or me type of situation. So it's going to be really difficult DFS-wise. I think if one guy's cold, I think the other guy could be hot type of thing. Something we've seen with CP3 and Devin Booker. Obviously, I think it's going to be a hit usage-wise to both guys a little bit because Donovan Mitchell was, running things a little bit more there in Utah. Where now it's going to be split, and we are going to see true kind of off-ball Donovan Mitchell more too, with how good Darius Garland has been. And then you got it leaves Karis LeVert kind of in this awkward spot, but he was able to do it with Brooklyn. So I think it's going to be a fine fit. Or they can get Isaac Okoro, a good defender. Doesn't do Isaac Okoro takes nothing away from these guys from a usage standpoint. So if the price is right, I think some of these guys are going to be in play, but they're going to be risky. They're going to be tournament plays. And I think this is going to be a really bad team to attack. We're definitely not going to want to target the Cavs at all from a DFS standpoint.
I also think the way you kind of run these rotations is you start Okoro with those 4 guys.
And you bring LeVert off the bench.
Your second unit's ran by Ricky Rubio and LeVert, and that lets you get the points
Kevin
off the
Love,
bench. Yep. There's your points.
Rubio is going to be hurt for a while, though. I think, the torn ACL, so he's going to return in December. So I definitely would have Karis LeVert and Kevin Love running the second unit, and that's a fine second unit. Those guys, defense, they're going to take a hit in that second unit, but they're going to outscore other teams' second unit.
One fun play too, I found JB Bickerstaff, Coach of the Year, 14-1. That's definitely in play here.
Okay, you guys are so much higher in Cleveland than I am. So I love to hear it. Love to hear some different perspectives. We don't all want to parrot each other. I guess my concerns for this team is how are they going to beat the top teams in the East? And let's talk about those top teams right now. The Miami Heat made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They're plus 800 to win the Eastern Conference. I hate to say that. The loss of PJ Tucker, I don't like that at all. Now they're talking about playing Jimmy Butler at 4. Jimmy Butler says he doesn't want to play the 4, but almost like DeRozan, that's the best lineup this team has right now. Other than that, though, it's really hard to poke holes in this Miami Heat team. You're going to get good effort every night. They're the best conditioned team in the NBA. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches. And, whether or not he's at the 3 or 4, Jimmy Butler can get things done here. Another team that I love from a regular season perspective, Tyler, just like Toronto, they have that great home court advantage. I can imagine we're going to be laying 7, 8 a lot of times when opposing teams are in Miami, and you'd say, oh, we shouldn't be laying that many points, and I think we're going to be fine with that because I think this team's going to be a great regular season team. It's hard for me to see where this team actually makes the NBA Finals, though, as currently constructed. What are your thoughts on the Heat?
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance they make the finals. I mean, they really didn't improve anywhere when you look at it. Spread. They didn't bring anybody in.
I would say they downgraded. I think Tucker's huge.
Yeah, you look. Here's what their sheet says for the transaction on the offseason. Via free agency, blank. Via trade, blank. Via 2022 draft, they drafted Nikolai Jovic at 27th. Lost Markieff Morris and PJ Tucker. So you lose the two guys, and Kyle Lowry's already 36 years old. We've seen him. He looked like he was starting to lose his step last year. That step's gone now. I'll stand on that. He's not going to be good this year. Butler's also getting old. They might be the most conditioned team, but you can't run these guys into the ground like this anymore. Like, you're going to have to use these guys on the bench, which they can, and they might win a ton of regular season games, but I don't think they make it deep into the playoffs this year. I think they get smacked out in the first round.
Do you have them or Cleveland finishing higher?
Cleveland.
Okay. Hey, Pete, what are your thoughts here on the Miami Heat?
Yeah, so I might have to rethink kind of where I have them. I have them as a easily making the playoffs. And that, it's kind of just a bet on talent when you have Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, who's taking a step forward, Jimmy Butler, and Bam. That group right there defensively just so good. And then I have Caleb Martin as the guy that they're probably going to play the 4, you'd think, if Jimmy Butler doesn't want to play it. So I think they're going to be great during the regular season. I think when the playoffs come, though, I'm willing to bet against them. I like other teams in this division for sure. That their total I think is pretty spot on, 48.5. I have them finishing right around there. Slow-paced team, good defensive team. Takes a hit, though, without PJ Tucker, for sure. But you still have Bam. You still have Jimmy. I have them making the playoffs. But, again, not really a team that I'm going to be excited about playing unless we get injuries here. So, if Bam's out, we can play Jimmy. If Jimmy's out, we can play Bam. We can look at Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, etc. But if everyone's healthy, it's not going to be a team that I'm going to target.
I really wish some of these bottom East teams were a little bit better, because then we could take some of these long shots on these teams missing the playoffs in the East. But you just look at the Eastern Conference. For last year's standings when they finished: Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Toronto, Chicago, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Atlanta. Like, those could easily be the same 8 that walk into the playoffs again this year with everybody else on the outside looking in, like Charlotte, New York, Washington. Like, those aren't teams that are going to steal a spot from one of those teams. I think they're just going to be reordered from last year.
If anyone were to make the jump of the 6 we're leaving out, who would you say, Tyler? I would say the Pistons.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm with the Pistons. It would be Cade. It'd be with Cade taking that all-star jump and one of these other guys.
And Ivy being legit, and Jalen Duren doing enough, and Bogdanovich providing that veteran shooting. Not to mention Sadiq Trey. We didn't mention him earlier, though. I do like the Pistons as maybe the one team to upset the apple cart there. Who would you pick, AP, of the 6 teams that we've slated as out?
He's picking Washington.
Well, it's dependent on them staying healthy. I mean, you bring up a good point. If they stay healthy, I think they do enough to get in, just based on the offensive pieces that they're bringing in.
Yeah, okay. Porzingis stays healthy, hey. Really might have to look at some things. Tyler, go ahead.
If they get smoked by the Pacers in game 1, I'll be retreating very, very quickly.
No, we don't want to change it off one game, but we'll see how that one goes. Yeah, losing to the Pacers would not be good. Tyler, the number that stood out to me the most here for Eastern Conference winner, why are the 76ers plus 700? Just spoiler alert, the Bucks are going to be plus 350, the Nets are going to be plus 300, Celtics are going to be plus 250. Other than the Bucks, I think this team should be second. I'm really surprised by this. Are they just assuming load management here? How can you not see everything that the Sixers did? A great team last year. Then they add PJ Tucker. Then they add Daniel House. Yes, Embiid is going to be hurt, and they probably won't win. I I don't know. I guess that's the idea here, that we're not betting on the best record. We're betting on to win the East. But still, plus 700. I really thought this number was wrong. But here at RunPure, you guys constantly tell me that I'm too high on the Sixers. Am I too high on the Sixers again? Have I made the same mistake again, Tyler?
No, I mean, everything pans out right. The price looks great. The roster looks great. The moves they made look great spread. But the guy at the front of the helm is still Doc Rivers. Like, yeah, he won a championship with Boston, but I feel like all three of us on this panel could have won that championship with those three guys on that roster. So it's like, when it comes down to it, is he going to be able to outcoach like Budenholzer, the guy who steps in for Boston? Like, that's going to be the big question here. I kind of like him, though. It's 7-1. Like, you're getting the better price. I think the only threat they have is the Bucks because I don't trust the Nets. I think the Celtics take a giant step back. So, yeah, it's 7-1. I like them. Their win total, I like the over there, too. And another guy you didn't bring up, spread, that they picked up in the offseason, I think it's going to help a ton, Anthony Melton. Because you've seen it when those guys came off the floor last year. Their second unit stunk. They could not keep a lead. They blow the lead. Here comes Embiid to save the day. Now you're going to put him on the floor. He's going to be able to keep some points going, keep them in games, and keep the lead up when they have that lead from the starter. So that was a great pickup by them.
Yeah, it's hard for me to talk bad about the Sixers except for their ability to stay healthy. Harden's never been a guy that, okay, even if he stays healthy, he definitely winds down towards the end of the season. And Embiid feels like he's been hurt in the playoffs every single year. AP, what do you think about the Sixers?
Yeah, I'm really high on this team too. I think, man, I think they're built to beat every other team here with the addition of PJ Tucker. He just brings like so much, and he's proven time and time again that he can go to a new team and adjust and adapt like immediately. So I think you got to like all the comments and stuff you've heard from James Harden too. It took less money to get the pieces that they needed to get. Seems very motivated, more motivated than we've ever seen. Tyrese Maxey looks incredible, like looks really, really good. He, like, if they're struggling, he's a guy that they could bring back in. But as Tyler alluded to, you got D'Anthony Melton, you got Montrezl Harrell, who has been like his whole career like a 6-man guy. So
is he
now
going to catch a suspension?
I don't think so.
Because I remember, didn't he get like felony charges for having a bunch of drugs on him or something in the offseason?
I have no idea.
Yeah, but then Miles Bridges happened and nobody noticed.
Yeah, they kind of threw that one under the rug.
It was like, oh, he's driving around with some weed. That's not that bad.
You got like, Thibault, obviously defense, but House, who, occasional guy that can come, hit some threes, but obviously has a lot of experience too. I think they plugged a lot of holes. I think you have more chemistry now between Harden and Embiid. And, man, I think this team is set up to compete with and is built and designed to beat every other team. Even Giannis, in the Bucks too. Like Giannis in the Bucks, I mean, they're going to be incredible. They always are when you have Giannis, but they have holes to fill too, holes to plug too. So, man, I'm the highest on Philly. I think I have them, assuming everyone stays healthy, going to the championship this year.
Yeah, and the team that I have going to the championship is the Milwaukee Bucks, who are plus 350 to win the NBA championship. Giannis, to me, is the best player in the NBA, and I think they're the only team that really matches up well with the Sixers because they do have Giannis and Brook to kind of give different looks at Embiid, and I feel like they could have made the championship last year if Chris Middleton stayed healthy. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Giannis definitely the best player in the NBA. His MVP odds at 6-1. Definitely want to get on those now. Luka's the only guy in front of him. There might not be Middleton to start the year, I read, so he might just pad his stats right off the bat and just run up volume, which could be big for this team. And Drew Holiday's still a great defender. And when it comes playoff time, he's going to take these guards out for, say, Atlanta, Philly. He's going to take out the guys in Boston. And just like Spread said, if Middleton was healthy, this team probably is in the finals last year. I think they might have beat Golden State with Giannis out there. So I like them. I think they're the team that comes out of the East. I like Giannis to win the MVP. I just think they have the slight edge on Philly, and I think they stay healthier down the stretch.
All right, AP, sorry about that. Not sure where it came from. What are your thoughts there on the Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be high on this team. Should get Middleton back at some point, but Giannis is going to be, man, so the stud that we want to look at early and often if Middleton is out. He was the fantasy point per minute leader in the Eastern Conference last year, 1.73 per minute. I don't see that changing at all, assuming Middleton is out. I see that number being even higher. And, I mean, not much has changed, like too much with this team. So you have more experience, more chemistry, all good things. I still have them slightly behind the 76ers. I just like how Embiid is so good. I think it's his year to step it up. And I think PJ Tucker, just massive addition. So I have the 76ers just a little bit higher than them, but the Bucks are going to be the Bucks. They're going to be super good whenever you have the best player, in Giannis. Maybe Luka comes out and makes a statement this year. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I absolutely love what I'm going to see from Luka this year. But Giannis is the absolute GOAT right now. And whenever you have him, I mean, you're going to be in a good spot. So it's hard not to be high on this Bucks team.
All right. Robert says Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I completely disagree. Giannis is so much better on the defensive end. That's why I have Giannis. But hey, if you have either of those players, you're doing pretty
crazy
good.
Long shot on this team spread.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's going to play this role on this team, but judging by the way their roster's set up, I think he is the sixth man. He won it a few years ago in Utah. Joe Ingles is 150 to 1 to win the
But he doesn't
man.
play till February.
Oh, is that what it is? Is he out most of the year?
He's out 40 games.
Don't bet that. Don't bet that.
Yeah, don't bet that then.
He's coming back.
I thought he was
I thought you
going
were
to
going to say
already.
Jordan Nwora.
No.
No.
All right. Yeah, that's Joe Ingles could help them in the playoffs, but I don't know if he'll get enough run. Once again, looking at these odds, I don't understand how this team is ahead of both the Bucks and the 76ers by NBA odds. Maybe the most overrated team in the NBA again is the Brooklyn Nets. They don't need a coach, and they've added Ben Simmons. I don't know. I'm not necessarily that high on the Nets from either a regular season or a playoff perspective. Of course, they're going to have good nights. Of course, I think they're great for DFS because I think the usage is going to be really slanted towards their superstars. Originally, I like the idea of Ben Simmons on the Nets, but he doesn't really seem like he's committed to the game of basketball. There's nothing that we've really seen that this guy has the mental temerity to be even the third player on a championship team. What do you think, Tyler? Am I wrong? Am I unfairly slandering Ben Simmons? What do you think?
I'm not going to give him too much slander. I mean, we slandered him enough, and the dude just kind of went silent, so it's like you can't really judge him off that. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes out and he's just a defensive juggernaut again. He's just dead silent about it, not getting into the media, and he's just playing the best defense for this team. I think that's why the odds are so low, because when you look at this roster, they added Royce O'Neal also, Markieff Morris, Edmund Sumner, TJ Warren once he finally comes back, the Wantanami guy from Toronto. So they have some bench players now. If these guys, they have some better than what they had. So,
okay. But they lost Bruce Brown.
Yeah, but he was more of a glue guy. I mean, he scored towards the end of that playoff run, but before that, we never thought he was much of a scorer. So
but he was the glue. He was the glue on a team that doesn't really seem to be that cohesive.
Yeah, but we'll see how that goes as the season goes on. You might also have this weird thing going on with this team this year where they play this narrative where everyone counted us out, this and that. We're the enemies now. We wanted traded. Now we're back together. Let's go win this in everyone's face. So I see why the odds are so low. You also don't want to have a lot of liability on them, so that's probably why they're low. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just the same as last year. Once we get to the last month of the season, all these top teams looking at them are going to try and avoid the hell out of them come playoff time. Because God forbid they do hit the floor with both of those guys playing at a high level and all the role players around them clicking. Good luck beating them.
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie, he'll be fasting again, though, during the playoffs. And I remember he had that great game one. And Tyler, then I didn't want to eat anymore. And after that, it's like, well, maybe you should eat before the games. AP, what are your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets?
I mean, they're so hard to trust because you got all these drama queens like on this team. And just it's like, man, like it's a walking tabloid. It's crazy. And so that's like the one huge concern. But if everyone gets on the same page and if everyone plays team ball, this team's going to be very good. I think Simmons, despite how bad he is offensively, from a true scoring standpoint, the guy can play defense. The guy can distribute. The guy can handle the ball. And he has shooters now around him. You got Seth Curry, you got KD, Kyrie, Joe Harris. And if Simmons is like a liability down the stretch, you have other pieces that you can bring in. Royce O'Neal, obviously a guy that played a ton of minutes, can play defense, hit threes. TJ Warren, who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back. We haven't seen him play, it seems like, in a long time. So
since the bubble.
Yeah. So who knows? Like, I wouldn't expect much there. It's just been so long. But you do have Nick Claxton, man. This guy is good. He's long. He's quick. He can switch. So I think this team is going to be improved a lot defensively with obviously the pieces that they have. And they have all the offensive firepower that you would want. So my only knock to them is the drama, and like it's always been a problem. It's always been a problem. So it's a really hard team to bet on. But if everyone's on the same page, if KD's happy, if Kyrie's balling and doing his thing, I think they'll be fine. Obviously, like when you have those type of all-stars on your team, you're going to be fine. It's just, can they do it through the whole season, and then come playoff time, can they keep it together? And, will Simmons be a liability come playoff time also? So a lot of questions, but, man, it's hard to say that this team isn't going to be a top 4 seed.
Man, you're kind of talking me back into that Simmons fit, AP. When you mentioned the shooters around him. Go ahead, Tyler. I'm sorry.
I also read that he possibly could be open to playing the 5 this year. You plug him in at center.
That's where he should be playing.
Now you could run the pace up and down the floor. He's playing center. You kick it into the post to him. He's quick enough to turn on these big guys and get to the hoop and get a bucket. He also has the passing vision where he turns around. The guy's standing open in the corner 20 feet away. He whips it to him. So that lineup of Kyrie, Joe Harris, KD, Royce O'Neal, and Ben Simmons could cause a lot of people fits.
Yeah, it's like the perfect team for him. Like he doesn't have to do anything offensively as far as like scoring goes. Get to the rim. That'll be the one thing. Hopefully he does get aggressive and try to get to the rim. And then if I'm him, I would spend 2-3 hours every day working on free throws. I mean, I don't know why he isn't. That's all he should be doing. So
I think because he's already got like $100 million. I don't know if he cares as much about his legacy as the rest of these guys, which is why it's hard for me to buy in. But boy, a perfect situation for him, as you outlined, AP, if things do go right. So I guess after hearing your breakdown, I understand why these odds are where they are. The Boston Celtics plus 250. So Tyler, you're expecting this team to go down, but all they really lost was the coach. And then you have to like the addition of Brogdon here. Why are you so down on the Celtics?
I just think, just like we just talked about with drama with Brooklyn, there's a ton of drama surrounding this team too, spread. Not all that info's out yet. You keep reading that more and more stuff's going to come out about how bad this was with the coach. The other thing is after that All-Star break last year, spread, we weren't that high on this team. And then all of a sudden, would they win like 40-something games out of like 48 to finish the season? And then they work their way into the playoffs and make it to the finals? You got to think that regresses a little bit. Like, we also think they shouldn't have been there because if the injuries to Milwaukee don't happen, they're likely not there. So it's like, it's tough. I think they do take a step back. I think their win total set in the 50s, and I think it was 53. I don't think there's a chance they get to 53. I'd bet the under there right off the bat. Yeah, 53.5. Give me the under there.
Wow. Okay, Tyler.
I mean, another thing to just to add in is, like, can Al Horford do what he did down the stretch? Like, can he repeat that? I don't think so. So, I mean, Tyler, you make really good points.
Tyler, proverbial $100. You can only bet it on the Nets or the Celtics to win the East. Who would you bet?
Probably the Nets. I have this weird feeling that those guys sat down in a room, had a talk without the media, and they're all on the same page already, and they're just going to hit the ground running.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised that Tyler went under on the Celtics. I think they're going to do great in the regular season. I think their issues might be, once again, in the playoffs. How much of a downgrade do you think losing Udoka is? We didn't think much of him for the first half of the year, as Tyler said, right? We're like, boy, this team misses Brad Stevens. Boy, this team misses Brad Stevens. Then they run off that run of what he said, 40 to 48, and he was a genius all of a sudden. I don't really know what to make of the loss. Like, for example, if I was doing my win totals, how much would you adjust him? Is he worth 2 games losing Udoka? Does it even matter? What do you think, AP?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good thing to like think about, and like, man, if you look at how they started the season last year, they were struggling. Like, we were questioning this Celtics team, and something sparked. Chemistry was there. They started playing team ball instead of ISO ball. Now with that leadership, with all the stuff going on, do they revert back to what they were doing before? Isolation ball, where it's Jason Tatum wanting it or Jaylen Brown. If that happens, man, I could see them struggling. But they did look. And then on the other side, if they keep playing like they played under him in the latter half of the season, it's hard to bet against the Celtics team. They were incredible defensively, ranking first overall in the NBA. Man, and you still got a lot of pieces there. You need Bob Williams back. Looks like he's going to be out 31 games roughly, so he'll be back in December. So that'll be a huge boost. And then you got Brogdon too, which is a nice addition to that team. So it's I don't know. Obviously I got them making the playoffs, but I am higher, and that's part of the reason why I'm so high on Philly. I think there's questions around teams like the Heat, Celtics, and Nets, obviously, and so it's Philly, and then it's Bucks for me, and then then it's probably Nets, and then I got then probably Celtics, Heat is kind of where I'm at, but maybe Cavs over Heat, maybe Cavs even over the Celtics. Who knows? I mean, that might be like a take that's way out there, but I'm definitely high on this Cavs team just with the pieces that they have. So it'll be really interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot early on. If we see what we saw down the stretch too, that's going to be a positive sign. The other thing to think about is, man, it is taxing on teams, especially a team with a rotation like the Celtics had, where their key guys were playing so many minutes, 40-plus minutes a game, deep into the summer, obviously with the run that they went on. How much do they like? We've seen these teams just have slow starts to the season. So if that happens, questions start to come up. Those can compound and start to pile up. That's where things could go downhill real fast when you don't have that kind of leadership in the head coach that Udoka obviously brought to them last year.
Yeah, and spread on that under 53.5. They won 51 last year. They lost 12 games from January 1st on to the end of the year and 5 from the All-Star break on. You're telling me you're going to put together numbers like that for the whole season and clear that 53 number? Give me the under there all day.
All right. Well, it's not like the NFL preview. You guys are coming with hot takes today. I love it. And all we ask for these takes is the quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out runpuresports.com. All right, Tyler, we've gone over every team. It's time. Who do you think will be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and who will be the team that advances?
We'll go Milwaukee, Philly, and I'm going to side with Milwaukee here.
All right, you have Milwaukee, Philly. AP, who do you have? Eastern Conference Finals, what was your prediction?
I'm going to have it being Philly against Brooklyn is where I'm going to have it. I think there's going to be we're going to have like a high-profile matchup before the conference finals where we see like the Bucks against the Nets or something like that. So I'll just be a little bit different. And then I got Philly making the NBA Finals.
All right. Well, I did say I liked Philly at the number of plus 700 to win the East. But if we're just doing this and no odds are involved, I'm going to go ahead and go. AP, you talked me into it. Give me a Brooklyn-Milwaukee series with Milwaukee advancing. Maybe the Nets do figure
you can get those exact
around.
Matchups on DraftKings. Brooklyn to play Philly 16-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Wow.
And my matchup, Philly-Milwaukee 17-1. The favorites, Boston-Brooklyn at
what's
7-1.
APs?
16-1.
Okay.
Brooklyn-Philly, the one you guys picked.
No, I picked Brooklyn-Milwaukee.
Oh, Brooklyn-Milwaukee is 9-1.
Okay. I mean, I'd say take all three of those. That'd be a nice little portfolio to have there. All right, AP, thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. Of course, if you're not a member of runpuresports.com, I have no idea why you're not. So head on over there. Check out all the great content we have, including debuting this year the NBA Blitz playbook to go along with your NBA DFS playbook. Final words, AP, before we get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, next week we will be started. So the grind is already here, but the true grind comes. I mean, I think we all agree that NBA is from a DFS standpoint, the best sport. And I think we have the best team by far. I don't think it's close at all with the names that we have over here at RunPure Sports. So if you want the best edge, if you want to be with the best team, you got to sign up at runpuresports.com.
All right. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Give us the thumbs up on your way out and run pure.